No matter how much Ricardo Rubi turns the tap, nothing comes out. He'd like to wash his hands after a long day at work.
Often we've had water in the mornings, before work, but then none in the afternoon. Nothing comes out of the tap, and then we have to wait until 6, 7, 8, or even 9 at night before we get any.
So the dishes will have to wait too. It's the same for this entire neighbourhood. One reason is increasing urbanisation. There aren't enough pipelines, and a modern water treatment plant is still under construction. Over half of Costa Rica's population lives here in the greater metropolitan area surrounding San Jose. Increasingly, it's encroaching on nature.
This river originates high up in the central volcanic mountain range, in the middle of the forest. But it immediately runs through farmland and meadows used to raise livestock. Then, right after that, comes the edge of the city, which is steadily creeping outwards. And straight after that, it gets swallowed up by the dense urban area.
Manuel Guerrero's water fund, Aguatica, works to protect water sources by bringing together farmers, public institutions and civil society.
You can't drink the water from this river. It's completely contaminated. In many places, toxic chemicals are dumped into it. Waste from agriculture, the breeding of livestock, waste from urban areas or industry is all discharged into the river. There's no system in place yet to treat the water properly, and there's no system to collect and reclaim the water.
Treating the water is one thing, but Manuel Guerrero and his partners are mainly concerned with how water is used and protecting the supply. So they work with farmers and support their efforts to develop sustainable farming methods. That includes protecting woodlands. 3 decades ago, large swathes of forest were still being cleared to make way for grazing land. Today, the farmers know that forests are key to protecting water sources.
My grandfather was the first to farm this land. We've been producing milk here for around 40 years. My father heads the creamery. For the last 2 years, I've been working here and learning all about dairy farming.
The farm's 200 cows are always put out to pasture in different places to give the grass time to recover. This also helps to spread their dung and urine more evenly, reducing water contamination. Finca Robles is a model for sustainable farming in the region, especially as the effects of climate change become more obvious.
We're definitely affected by climate change. It rains less now. We used to get more rain, especially during the rainy season. And the dry season is now drier still. Over the years, the climate has changed. And when the grass doesn't grow, we have to buy feed, and that increases our costs.
Carla Brayley and her family have committed to keeping 1/3 of their farm covered with woodland. In return, one of Aguatica's partner organisations pays them compensation, equaling roughly 5% of their income.
The forest is so vital because that's where the water reserves we rely on are found. There are many water resources in these woods. The trees preserve this water by absorbing it. So for us, this resource is hugely important. We've managed to combine pastures and woodlands on our terrain, and the trees provide shade in some places and conserve water in others.
Farmers who transform part of their land into a forest ecosystem can play a key role in protecting Costa Rica's water supply, says Manuel Guerrero.
The farmers realize that they stand to benefit from adopting these environmentally friendly practices and moving away from traditional style intensive farming, which produces many harmful substances. And this then reduces the sources of pollutants entering the water.
But there's still a long way to go before that water is sure to reach the cities. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Ricardo Rubi still hasn't seen a drop.
Water is the symbol of life. You can't live without water. It's frustrating.
But he at least stored a little water in advance, both for himself and his 2 dogs. He collects water for them in plastic jugs, because here every drop counts.